Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we gotta revisit what is going on in Aurora, Colorado, because we now have reports from the police in Aurora that all of the rumors that you heard, all of the videos that you saw of gang members taking over an apartment complex among several apartment complexes in and around this area happen to be completely false, completely made up. Pay no attention to the videos that you've seen because it is just not happening. There's nothing going on here, nothing to see here, and that is what is currently being presented to us after weeks of reports in the local media of these issues going on at this particular apartment. However, I will say I'm a bit skeptical of the new revelations from the Aurora police chief. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
So you guys might recall a couple of days ago that we saw this video of gang members going into an apartment armed to the teeth, and this was filmed from an apartment across the hall before it was posted on the internet.com, and it went completely viral. And this was added in with a bunch of reports of people moving out in terror from these apartment buildings, alleging that the gangs had took over said buildings. However, today, all of a sudden, the police have done their patrols and they have said, contrary to the rumors in the video that you've seen, there is no problem at all whatsoever.
The video shows a group of men walking up a stairwell at the edge of the Lowry apartment complex in Aurora. All of them appear to be carrying rifles and handguns, and the video shot earlier this month. One of the men can be seen talking on a cell phone. They all then gather around a door and go in. Another video clip shows men forcing a door open. But what or who they were searching for, not clear.
So as you can see from this local news segment, we have additional footage that was not really circulated as widely as the guys armed with guns busting into this apartment. And of course, in response to that video, we had representatives from the Department of Homeland Security say that these were in fact members of the game Tren de Aragua, or whatever it's called, TDA for short.
What some were initially saying was that a Venezuelan gang took over an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. But the interim police chief says that is not what's happening at all. She made those comments after officers spoke with several people who live there. This video was obtained by our sister station, KDVR, which appears to show a group of armed men breaking into multiple units shortly before a shootout happened in the parking lot. This happened back on August 19th. Sources with the Department of Homeland Security told News Nation that the individuals are members of the gang.
But the Aurora interim police chief says, no, that is not the case. Homeland Security is dead wrong.
I stopped by here at 12th and Dallas, got quite a few of our officers out here that are out here tonight again. I've been out here for several weeks, making contacts with our residents, reassuring them about the criminal activity that's happening here and how we're going to address it. We're out here, we want to reassure the people that live in this community that we are actively investigating criminal activity that's happening and listening to them to so that we can learn anything that we're missing. You know, what are we missing, and actually find out what exactly is going on. We're out here because we care. I mean, nobody should be wearing this uniform if they don't care. And we want the residents and the people that live here to know that we care. We've been talking to the residents here and learning from them to find out what exactly is going on. And there's definitely a different picture. I'm not saying that there's not gang members that don't live in this community. But what we're learning out here is that gang members have not taken over this complex.
They went and spoke with the remaining tenants in this building, and they said there's no issue at all whatsoever, except for the issue of slumlords. Gosh darn, we gotta watch out for those slumlords, even though we have representatives from the building saying that they have been kicked out, their security personnel have been kicked out by these gang members. We also have the shootout, the hotspots of criminality, we have the issues with the Walmart, and all of that, but it is okay because representatives from Aurora, Colorado's police department say that there is no problem at all whatsoever. Pay no attention to your lying eyes because we have new evidence, recontextualization, that says everything is safe, everything is first class all the way, and the governor says it's honestly a figment of your imagination that you're you're even concerned about this.
Yeah, good morning to you both. And the neighbors who actually live in the Edge at Lowry Apartments, they actually had a rally yesterday to talk about all of this and say, hey, this is not what's going on. It's actually, this building's kind of a mess and the management company is not taking care of it. And they're asking specifically to talk to the mayor, Mayor Mike Kaufman, I should say, here in Aurora. And it sounds like the mayor is on board to chit chat about what's going on. Now, Mayor Mike Kaufman says there have been conversations of an emergency order to take over the complex, but he says that's a last resort. Now, those who live there, they tell us they have had no issues with gang activity, but say the real crime is the horrible living conditions they've been dealing with, like the mountains of trash, bed bugs, and even mice. And they say all of this happening without any help from the property management company.
So right here, you have the competing narrative that is being put forward by the residents that still remain in the apartment complex. Very crucial for you guys to understand. We're talking about those who still remain there, and they say, listen, there is no issue at all whatsoever with gangs or gang violence or gang takeover. All of that stuff that you saw in the video, the break-in and all of that, that would be considered fake news, stuff that doesn't exist, and stuff that you don't need to pay attention to. In reality, the issue is the slumlords, because there are bugs, we're talking roaches, bed bugs, there are also pests like mice present in the building, and what you need to do is give these people the healthy living conditions that they require on the taxpayer dime. But now, I will just point out that these, of course, are the people who remain in the building, not the people who have fled, not the people who have given us the footage of what was going on in the building, and for some reason, this is being treated by Democrats at the state level as proof positive that everything that you saw on video and everything that was reported in the weeks leading up to that video being published broadly is just fake news and you don't need to hear about it. But I will point out that while there probably is something shady going on with the property managers right here, that we had a bunch of different various reports that came before this that lead us to believe that this current report is absolutely nonsensical.
The video was shot in the building where Cindy and Edward Romero lived until today. They loaded up their stuff and moved out.
It's been a nightmare and I can't wait to get out of here.
This is how Cindy used to lock her front door.
Every day when we come home, we have to do this. Every time we go outside to take out the garbage, every time we try to go to bed at night, we have to keep it like this so nobody can kick in the door.
The couple's car and many others here were riddled with bullets after a shootout at the complex earlier this month. The Romeros say the trouble started when a large number of migrants began moving in. They had not been able to move out for different reasons.
We couldn't get any. We tried reaching out to the resources, but they told us since it wasn't actually a condemned building, we would have to wait until that was the issue, but we didn't want to wait for that. So the only help I got was after talking to you.
Again, the Department of Homeland Security is like, yeah, that is TDA. That is the Venezuelan gang. They are definitely in there, and they are 100% a problem. You have all these different various local crime reports in and around this apartment complex. We had the video of what was going on TikTok, and apparently, even before it was national news, all of these different people are supposedly lying about this, giving their own takes from the ground, and that stuff is all to be dismissed because now these residents of this apartment have come out to say that there is no crime problem, and when the police did their patrol, they didn't run into anybody with outstanding warrants or anybody that they could determine to be affiliated with the gang. Again, during whatever time they decided that they were going to do a patrol, and during the time when they were talking to these people who are allegedly under the threat of the gang, they did not get any information that indicated that the gang was even present there, which, by the way, I don't believe.
Now, the management company, CB's management, also oversaw the Nome Street complex that was shut down last month. Now, the city shut down Nome Street because of code violations, but the management company says that they couldn't go in there and actually deal with the code violations because it was overrun by a Venezuelan gang.
So like has been reported over and over again, a bunch of these different management companies have said that they've tried to fix violations, but essentially they've been forced out by the gang members, and that actually led to the shutting down of a prior apartment complex. And in this particular case, we're actually looking at a similar situation because the mayor of Aurora, Colorado, despite the fact that this place is supposedly not being taken over by gangs, is also seeking an emergency order in order to clear the apartment. So all of these people right now, if they acknowledge that there is a serious problem with this apartment complex, are facing eviction if that order is to go through. So you can kind of understand how there's a little bit of a interesting incentive being put forward. One, these people have guns to their head, proverbially and possibly literally, having them come out and say that there's no issue in this particular complex. They are the people who remained in this complex, who didn't move out due to fear. And on top of that, if they acknowledge the criminality, they may actually be rewarded by being evicted from this particular apartment.
So that's all. Everybody kind of pointing the finger at each other. But that location, like I said, allegedly also had gang activity. Now, the mayor, though, he says all of these allegations are a potential crutch for the company to be using.
So yeah, it's not really the most believable position for these people to take that there is no gang activity in this particular apartment complex when we have video of gang activity in this particular apartment complex.
This entire situation, we've had a change in narrative because of one instance. Everybody's just looking and assigning it to everybody else. We've been paying our rent. There's nobody in there who is asking us for money other than the owner. We have not had to pay anybody. We have not had any issues with security. We are not criminals.
So this woman says right here, look, we're not all criminals. We've never been asked to pay anybody. And honestly, it's just one incident that people are raging out about. And to be clear, the video appears to be actually two instances, because you have the break-in and then the shootout out front. And if that were just it, then maybe you could write it off as a one-off. But the fact of the matter is, it's not one instance. There are weeks and weeks of reports of criminal activity, of gang activity in these particular complexes.
We showed Councilmember Danielle Jurinsky the video. Today, she helped a couple move out and find a new place to live.
The city nonprofits have lined up to help the migrants that have come here, but nobody is helping the American citizens, the residents that are trapped in these apartment complexes.
The Romeros tell us others living here had been asking when they'd be moving out.
And this isn't just Americans. This is other Venezuelans that are living under this control, that are being extorted by the control of this gang.
While we were on the property today, even before we left, we were told other people were moving in and taking over the Romeros unit.
The local news media likely not making that stuff up. The police being sent out there repeatedly, likely not making that stuff up.
We got a statement from the mayor's office this afternoon telling us that so far there are no code enforcement actions that will be taking place at this complex. The mayor's office also telling us that the Aurora Police Department was able to see this video earlier in the investigation. And today, Danielle Jurinsky, the council member, telling us that she's also helped another person move out of this complex.
But they're now going with this narrative that Aurora is perfectly safe, that these gangs don't exist, despite the fact that we have all this different supporting reporting that shows us that they do exist.
We've really made an effort the last few days to just really ask the specific questions or the direct questions in terms of the gang activity and who's actually making sure that people aren't paying rent to gang leaders or gang members, that's not happening. And we've discovered here today and yesterday talking to so many residents that that's not the case. We've been talking about, and they've been sincere with us. We really believe that they are sincere with us. And we're standing out here, and I can tell you that gang members have not taken over this apartment complex.
So it's very important for you guys when you hear statements from public officials to understand what is being said in between the lines right there. So this woman makes the claim that the gangs have not taken over this complex, and they know that because they're here in and around this area, and they don't feel as if it has been taken over. On top of that, she's zeroing in and focusing on the claim that supposedly these people were paying rent to the gang members and not to the property management company. But in reality, talking to average people that are in this area is not going to clarify that issue to any significant degree. The way that you would figure this out is by looking at the financial transactions of the property management company. If they're actually not receiving rent from the tenants, then one could assume, based on the videos of gang members breaking down doors and going in there armed to the teeth, that maybe they're paying rent to the gang members. But honestly, this is not something that matters all that much. If they are so present in this place that they are deterring maintenance people from coming in, that they're deterring all these other things, and they are preying upon these people, the last thing that they're going to want to do is tell it to the police, especially if they're looking for an emergency order in order to vacate these people from the premises. And by the way, the Aurora, Colorado mayor is completely all over the place on this particular issue, because he was signaling earlier that this was in fact the real deal, a definite problem in his city. But he's also talking about how he did not authorize these people to be in here, and he's searching for the funding from whatever nonprofit or government agency might be paying for them to be in this apartment complex in the first place. He also highlights, on the other hand, out-of-state landlords. He calls them slumlords, and honestly, I'm not sure what angle this guy is tackling this issue at, other than the fact that I believe that he wants these people out of Aurora. He has not tried to maintain the sanctuary city status, and he's angry at neighboring Denver for allowing these people to come in such great numbers and bending over backwards in order to give them benefits, including cutting government spending in Denver for them.
What is relevant is that there are criminals that seem to be working together that are committing crimes. To me, that's what's relevant. We got to get them out of there.
So I know I've put a lot of emphasis on the Democrats being responsible for the border problems, being responsible for sanctuary cities, and being the chief deniers that this is actually an issue. But I need you guys to understand that this man right here, Mike Kaufman, the mayor of Aurora, Colorado, is a Republican. And again, I bring that up because his position is incomprehensible. This guy has said that the problem doesn't exist, then he said that the problem does exist, and then there's no violations of code in any of these buildings. Then he said there are violations of code in these buildings, and the slumlords are the problem, and we have to investigate them because the migrant takeover, the gang takeover, doesn't exist. Then he's come back to saying that no, this is a problem, this is organized criminals, aka gang members, and I just have no idea day to day what the hell this guy's position is. I'm telling you, the links to these sources and these interviews are in the description of this video. You will see he is flipping and flopping back and forth over and over again on these particular issues. The only thing he's remained consistent on is the fact that he doesn't want migrants in that apartment complex, but every other position that this guy throws out there is completely different.
Obviously, I don't like the policies at the border, but that it seems like whenever, the pattern here in these properties is that when you have a concentration of Venezuelan migrants, it seems to be a target-rich environment for a criminal element to come in and to exploit them.
Again, every time I watch an interview from this guy, he's saying something completely different. He's like, listen, whether or not they're this specific gang or whatever, they appear to be an organized group of people committing crimes in and around this apartment complex. But also, I'm not only concerned about this apartment complex, I'm concerned about what's going on in the city of Aurora in terms of organized crime. But also, it's not happening. But also, Aurora is a safe place to live. But also, I don't know about this border policy and all these criminals that are in a group, some type of an organization where they have matching colors or matching tattoos, and I think they're causing problems in Aurora. Again, listen, Mayor Kaufman, get a hold of yourself. Understand what position you're actually taking before it comes out of your face. I can't get any read on this particular person, and all I have right now is the interim police chief saying, oh, there's no issue right here.
And we're standing out here, and I can tell you that gang members have not taken over this apartment complex.
I have federal law enforcement saying that this is the gang. They're in this area. I have local media reports from weeks prior to this talking about the gangs growing in influence and preying on these particular tenants. We have tenants that are filming the gang activity in their apartment complex, have fled the apartment out of fear of the gangs taking control of it, property managers saying that they can't get in because of gang activity, and conversely, we have law enforcement saying that there's no issue. We have remaining tenants who might be facing eviction if the gangs have taken over, saying that there is no issue, but nobody is being clear, and a lot of that ambiguity comes from the mayor's office, who is taking every single position possible, who's not clarifying what's going on.
And I think I'm trying to, be realistic on how I portray this, but I am worried that there is a tendency inherently to exaggerate and to say this incident that's isolated to 3 buildings under the same ownership with the same people, concentration of Venezuelan migrants, is the city of Aurora, that the entire city is unsafe. And that narrative isn't true, and that's a destructive narrative to the economic health of this city.
So again, I'm going to leave this up to you guys out there in the audience. Is this just a one-off, just a one individual instance of gang members busting down a door and infiltrating an apartment armed to the teeth and then having a shootout in front of the place? Is the crime in the Walmart a completely other additional random instance? Are all of these random instances? Or do we actually have a serious problem in Aurora, Colorado? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. As usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me with the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the madness in messaging from Aurora. Till next time.